Welcome to ISE's FX Options Weekly Outlook, a weekly outlook on the US dollar versus the major currencies, hosted by Jason Ayres, a top industry instructor and founder of OptionSource.net. Learn to trade your views on the strength or weakness of the US dollar.
Hi there and welcome to the ISE FX Options Weekly Outlook for February 8th to the 14th. I'm your host, Jason Ayres, founder and president of OptionSource.net. And as always, we're going to start with a look at our weekly U.S. dollar index. This is a great way to gain perspective as to how the U.S. dollar has been trading against a basket of currencies. As we can see here, that U.S. dollar index continues to find support at the 84-85 focal zone. Now, although we've seen some indecision here, a commitment to the upside will likely lead to a test of the October highs within that 88-89 range. Now, with that indecision taking place here and that lack of conviction to the upside, we have to be open to the possibility of a retracement back down to the downside. A break and a close below 84 will lend credibility to an intermediate term test of that 81-82 focal zone. Now, a quick look at the daily chart here shows that what is traditionally known as an ascending continuation triangle is in the process of forming, supporting further the possibility of a push higher. Now, what we do need to see is a break and a close above that near-term resistance level to be confident in a continuation of that preceding uptrend. With that in mind, let's take a look at the first of our ISE FX options pair values, the CDD, the U.S. versus the Canadian dollar. Now, the CDD continues to consolidate within our 122 to 124 focal zone. And after an ambitious attempt Friday to break higher, we can see that the pair value settled back down, closing at approximately 122. Now, a bounce here and a close outside of this zone will support the probability of a move towards that 128 to 130 focal zone. However, with such a significant downside pressure in place, a close below that 122 level will open the window for a test of the 114 to 118 box. Next up, the YUK, the U.S. versus the Japanese yen, and we witnessed some strengthening of the dollar against the yen. As suggested last week, a break above that 91 supported a high probability of a move up into that 93-94 focal zone. Now, at this stage, a follow-through is expected. However, anticipate some apprehension as the pair value tests that resistance. If the YUK settles back down into that 90-91 focal zone, a break of the bottom of that range will open the window for a test of that 87 to 88 box. While having the most influence on the U.S. dollar index, the EUI, the U.S. versus the euro, also appears to be forming an ascending continuation triangle, suggesting that a strong close above the 77-78 focal zone would likely rally into that 80 to 81 resistance level identified here. Now, at this point, we are seeing some apprehension, which would suggest that a break and a close below roughly 76.5 would open the window for a move to test support down into that 74-75 box. Well, as seen here in the BPX, the U.S. dollar continued to lose strength against the British pound. After an early bounce on Monday, the pair value closed on the low of the day to continue its descent down to break below that key focal zone identified within that 68-69 box. Now, some consolidation here is expected. However, a continuation of this move is likely to test an important support level within that 65-66 range. At this point, a natural retracement of this move would play back into that 70 to 71 box. And finally, we saw a similar move in the AUX as the U.S. dollar weakened against the Australian dollar. After a mild attempt to test the 160-165 focal zone, the pair value rejected strongly, breaking a key focal zone to close on the upper range of the 146-148 support. Now, at this point, it is not unrealistic to expect a retracement of this move, which would likely retest that 152-153 range. If the lower range of the 146-148 focal zone does not hold, the window is open for an even further weakening of our pair value, targeting the 140 to 142 box. All right, let's take a look at a few of the key points. First of all, the U.S. dollar index still shows signs of testing 88.89 as it continues to find support within the 84.85 focal zone. Although a bullish pattern has been identified on the daily chart, we are waiting for a stronger conviction to the upside. The CDD, the U.S. versus the Canadian dollar, made some aggressive moves in both directions this week, but still consolidates between 122 and 124. Friday's close on the low end of that range suggests further declines. However, support here, followed by a close above 124.5, opens the window for a test of that 128-130 focal zone. The YUK, U.S. versus the Japanese yen, closed above 91, suggesting a test into that 93-94 range is a high probability. However, expect a rejection here as it plays into that key resistance level. The EUI, the U.S. versus the euro, is moving in a similar manner to the dollar index. A close above 78.5 will lend more credibility to a test of the previous highs. The BPX, the U.S. versus the British pound, continues its decline, closing below a key support level. The window is now open for a test down into the 65-66 range. However, a little backfilling is likely after such a strong move to the downside. And finally, the AUX broke through a key support level after an aggressive decline. At this stage, the pair seems to have closed on the higher range of a focal zone within the 146-148 range. As with the BPX, some backfilling is expected. And this has been your ISE FX Options Weekly Outlook for February 9th to the 13th. I'm your host, Jason Ayres, founder and president of OptionsSource.net. Thanks for joining me here this week. We'll see you here next week.
Thank you for participating in this week's session. Please join us again next week. For more information about Jason Ayres and to sign up for free FX Options trade alerts, just visit www.optionsource.net. To learn more about ISE FX Options, including our weekly webinar series, visit us at www.ise.com/fx. ISE FX Options can easily be traded through all options-enabled brokerage accounts. These exchange-listed securities are cash-settled in U.S. dollars and have a European-style exercise.